I switched from the iPhone 17 Pro Max, the largest powerhouse iPhone that you can buy, to the 13 mini, the smallest you can find. And I wanted to see if getting back to a 4-year-old phone would also reduce my screen time and improve my life. So is a small phone worth the change? Do I miss the 120Hz display? How much worse is the camera? And ultimately, does the worst phone from a 4-year-old lineup still hold up today? Let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, I've been a big fan of the iPhone 13 mini for years, and this year I tried out each phone from the iPhone 17 lineup. And with the Pro Max as my last stop on the iPhone 17 journey, I wanted to share my experience with the phone and, spoiler alert, why I ended up switching back. Let's talk about it. So this is the iPhone 17 Pro Max, the largest and most powerful iPhone that you can buy right now, with the screen size at 6.9 inches and a weight of 233 grams. Plus the added thickness for more battery this year, it really should have been called the Ultra, honestly. And while I should be excited to take on this big, most expensive phone that Apple makes, I found that just wasn't the case. The Pro Max has a huge screen, and while it's great for watching movies, playing performance-heavy games, taking exceptional photos, and having the longest battery life I've ever seen on a phone, literally, I also found that the size is what got in the way. When I was using one hand and I got a text, I could read it, but it was nearly impossible to respond with one hand. When I was using the phone and needed to get to Control Center, which is supposed to be a designated shortcut area, I found I couldn't quite reach it unless I adjusted the phone. If I'm being honest, reaching the top half of the phone was entirely impossible. It's actions like this that meant that this amazing phone was simply just getting in the way of my life instead of blending into it like a helpful tool. But if the Pro Max is the powerhouse iPhone, then maybe the solution is smaller than we think. The iPhone 13 mini, the phone Apple released over 4 years ago, was the most underrated phone ever made, coming in an ultra-portable 5.4-inch screen with a full screen display and no home button, a dual camera system, which still includes the ultra-wide camera unlike the Air, MagSafe compatibility for all modern accessories, but most importantly, portable enough to use entirely with just one hand. And that underrated ability of reachability is the most significant feature a phone can have, because now when I get a text, I can pull out my phone, easily tap on the notification, I can respond, even when my other hand is full. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that this phone is more than 4 years old, and with that you're going to be losing some features in this downgrade, first of which is obviously screen size. Going from 6.9 inches all the way down to 5.4 inches is no joke. It is much, much smaller, but the one thing I always challenge people on who are hesitant is, what are you really doing with that extra screen real estate on the Pro Max? In the Apple ecosystem, we don't have features that really maximize a bigger screen. The home screen layout still fits the same amount of icons without extra rows, widgets still have the same information. When typing, the keyboard doesn't add any additional shortcuts on screen. Photos just shows a larger photo, no extra tools on screen. The music app doesn't fit more controls on screen for easy access. Maybe the only utility difference here is using the camera control button, but that's not like a Pro Max exclusive feature anyway. If you look at the phone side by side, the only findings you'll notice is a faster 120Hz display and a much, much brighter display. But otherwise, it's the same apps, the same controls, the same uses. And if that is the case, isn't a more portable form factor to do it all a benefit or a feature? When I am using the iPhone 17 Pro Max, it's already so big that I don't want to add extra bulk, but I also don't want to risk going caseless on the most expensive iPhone that you can buy. So that's where channel sponsor MOFT, Apple's official accessory partner, comes in with their new MOFT frame case. So I've been using this behind the scenes, but it just launched to the public this week. This is an ultra slim and lightweight case from MOFT that's just 2.3 millimeters thin and 2.4 grams light, with an open concept that lets you feel the edge of your phone while closing the most important points of impact, like these reinforced corners that keep it protected for drop protection. Along the exposed sides, it's slightly raised to protect the back edge. The top and bottom are entirely covered and also hook subtly around the front of the phone to keep it secure. The bottom is also completely covered but adds cutouts for the ports, and the camera bump is slightly raised for added protection. It has subtle MOFT branding along the back and a beautiful texture that adds to the premium feel. The inside includes soft touch felt finish that keeps the back of your phone protected, and it also includes MagSafe magnets for reinforced MagSafe compatibility, The two-tone colors look great in both color options that I have here, but let me know which one that you prefer in the comments. What I love is that this is fully a case by every definition, but it exposes the parts of the phone that you'll actually make contact with when you pick it up. And that leads to a design that keeps your phone feeling thin, no extra bulk, which is so important, especially if you're picking up a phone this massive. Their classic Movas snap case was already my top choice for the iPhone cases in this year's comparison, but the new open design, paired with the exact same high-quality vegan leather, is thinner and lighter while still being great protection for your phone. Let me know in the comments if you like the idea of these new cases from MOFT, and I'll leave links in the description and comments for you to pick them up. And if you decide to make this downgrade from largest, newest phone to smallest, there's some features you're trading off to do that. Like obviously the quality of the display is going to be worse, going from 120Hz to 60Hz. That means swiping across home screens and scrolling through apps is going to feel a little bit laggy in comparison. And every time I do this downgrade, like it's the first thing that I notice, but it's also only a temporary feeling until you adjust back, which is always within the first couple of days. But then you get to the cameras. This one is a possible deal breaker for a lot of people. You're going from a triple camera system of 48 megapixel lenses, ultra wide lens, and a telephoto lens. And that lets you zoom from 0.5 times, 1 times, 2 times, 4 times, all the way to 40 times, all in great quality images. It means not only do you get a range, but you almost always get professional looking photos with incredibly natural blur. There's times I opt to use this over my professional camera because it's just so much easier and fun to use. Then you get to the Mini, a 2-lens system with a 12 megapixel standard and ultra wide camera. These lenses are decent quality. They're enough to get a good shot, but if you're coming from a pro lineup, the blur will look less natural, dark mode photos almost never turn out well. It's more of a utility camera system versus a strong one. But if you can get past the display and the cameras, then the last hurdle you have to jump through, battery life. And 4 years later, it's a problem. In my test, the Mini no longer lasts an entire day. There's no sugarcoating it, especially if you're trying to use it like a pro, opening the camera app for long periods of time, watching content, playing games. If you use it like a pro, you're only going to get a few hours. But if you're using it as a simple phone, it's a powerful and minimal tool. I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's not for everyone. I say a lot about switching from larger to smaller phones, but there are some cases that the larger phone actually makes sense. Like I enjoy using a phone one-handed, but what if you're somebody who does a lot of typing, scripting, long form writing? In that case, a larger two-handed keyboard might actually be more comfortable to use for those long-winded scripts. Or if you're taking photos for work and you need to get high-quality shots easily, or you're just reviewing said photos on a larger, more color-accurate display. In all of those cases, it actually is better to get a Pro Max. But what is the trade-off? Because if you don't want to use your phone for a lot of work, and you're somebody who's making a lot of calls, quickly responding to texts, if you're someone who wants the best of modern iOS, but in a more manageable form factor that you can take on the go, the Mini is the answer. I talk a lot about the Mini on the channel, and the one thing I always try to explain to people is that a majority of the internet is trying to sell you something. And if they're not, you are the product, and you're paying with your attention. So when you have a large phone, the brighter display, more colors, more places to look, more immersive, it's really easy to get caught up in it and get sucked into that attention trap. And on the flip side, when your display is smaller, it's less invasive. Instead, it becomes minimal, simple, useful. In my tests, my screen time is reduced by more than 50% just by moving to a smaller screen. It's a nice sentiment, right? A phone that's small, reducing screen time, becoming more productive and more mindful. But is the Mini really practical this year? With the introduction of iOS 26, I found that the Mini actually started to perform worse. That means worse battery life than before, worse glitches. And that's even with Apple reducing a lot of animations that iOS can do. What I found was that iOS 26 supports the Mini, but wasn't really designed for it. It's worth noting that I did another video on iOS 26 on the Mini, so if you want more specific details, go check it out and pay attention to the comments because there is a lot of great feedback from people experiencing the same thing that I am. So where do we go from here? Is switching from the iPhone 17 Pro Max to the 13 Mini really a practical switch? I would say yes, but not without lifestyle changes. Like I said, if you're using this phone like a pro, it won't get you far. But as you start to adapt to the smaller screen, you'll find that you naturally spend less time on your phone, that you're more engaged in your actual life, that your phone becomes a tool in your life and not a necessity designed to steal your attention. Now, obviously, everything I'm saying is completely subjective. Let me know in the comments if you agree with what I'm saying or if you completely disagree. If you have questions about how the Mini holds up this year, or you really just want Apple to bring back the Mini, let your voices be heard in the comments below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.